Welcome. A little bit of a twist today. What I'm going to talk about today is Batman versus Superman. And I want to talk about this in the framework of how it's affected the world, why this is in the media, why it might be important, how it's seeped through everything as the primary story source for other media from a more simple, maybe media form. And I want to tie that all into a bunch of other stuff. And so I hope you'll join me on the journey. Why should we care about something like Batman versus Superman? What is the big deal? It's just, some media, it maybe came from some comics and some comic rivalries and different superhero motifs. And how does this play out? Why do we think it plays out at all? So what I'd like to propose is that what leads society is art. Art leads everything. And why that happens, look, I mean, I'll just state it quickly. I think that there is a collective unconscious, right? The way someone like Carl Jung talked about. And so there's the zeitgeist, and it has a consciousness and an unconsciousness, just like we do, because it's just a reflection of us at the group level. And that plays out or unfolds right over time. And the way it's first expressed is not propositionally, but through art. And so if you look at the comics, I think that's what's happening. And so I want to show you how this weaves into sort of everything and explains a bunch of things nicely. Things like emergence and emanation. I think that those are at play here. Materialism is at play here. There's a bunch of components that are at play here. So I just want to tie those together for you, if I can. So let's start with the framing. If art's leading the way, what is this? What's playing out here? So it starts as comics. Comics are childlike artwork. They're designed for an immature audience. Not to say that adults can't read comics or won't enjoy comics, but they're designed specifically for a younger audience on purpose. This is a deliberate thing. Nothing wrong with it. I'm not denigrating comics. I'm just stating a fact. They're cheap, right? They're done on relatively cheap medium for the time. They are competing with other mediums like newspapers at the time that they come out, right? A whole new way of storytelling, of visual storytelling, is born in the comic. We can argue about when comics started or whatever, but I think actually the superhero comics are the beginning of some shift in the comics. Now, I'm going to propose that all of this Batman versus Superman stuff is actually the thing that leads to this idea of living hidden in Christianity, victim culture, cancel culture, plays into the loss of virtues and values, right? And the reason why I think this is because it's deliberately no hero to emulate. We can all pretend to be a hero now because heroes are hidden. They're in the shadows. They have two identities, and one of them is secret. And so that plays into this secret sacred self. It validates that whole framework. But now we can all be the hero. But we don't know what a real hero looks like because we only have these comic images of them. And you can say, oh, look, they did a movie. Yeah, fair enough. That's the development of the comics from the 50s, roughly. And, where did this stuff come from? Well, Superman is based on Nietzsche's Übermensch. That's what it's based on. It's based on what I would argue is bad philosophy, bad modern philosophy. All modern philosophy past Plato and Aristotle, bad. Nietzsche, bad. You get things like Superman. But what's the thing about Batman and Superman? Like, what am I really proposing here? Why does this make any sense? So let's make the case. What does Batman represent? Batman builds himself up from nothing, except his father's fortune. So there's the materialism. What makes Batman special are the tools on his belt. This is well stated. I have many conversations with people about this over the years. That's the way it's viewed. For better or for worse, I think it's right, actually. It's dead on. But that also means that money equals superhero status. The two are the same. There's the materialism. The material you build on you for yourself or have with you, whether you built it or not, makes you the superhero. But we're still hiding from society. Batman emerges from his trauma explicitly, right? As a hero, and almost nobody knows who he is. So he's living a double life, right? There's the playboy Bruce Wayne, and then there's the superhero Batman, and they don't cross. They don't really cross. They do to you, right? You know, you're in on the secret. The secret. You have the knowledge, the gnosis. There's the gnosticism. He emerges, builds himself into a superhero, and then hides that identity. Interesting. And the world is roughly equal, because the only thing that makes him unequal is his access to money and to the tools through the money. So really, the world's pretty equal. Like, anybody could train the way he trains and build up that stuff if they had that fortune and emerge as a hero. It's a very enticing story. Now, let's just switch for a minute in contrast to Superman. Superman comes from the sky. He comes from another planet. Literally comes from the sky. He falls out of the sky. There's your emanation. And he's Superman. He's not man. Like, Batman is man. Superman is man plus, or better man, or Ubermensch, which is where it comes from. No, really. He's also masking his true identity and has two personas. And he's being looked up to in his hidden identity, not in his true identity. That's interesting. And no one knows that Superman fell out of the sky, except maybe his parents. Nobody knows that. So maybe the reason why you feel like you're saving the world or helping the world or can help the world, maybe the reason why you feel like you don't fit with the people around you, why people treat you as a stupid man working at a newspaper, is because you're really from outer space and you're actually better than those men. Now, you may think this is silly, but I guarantee you, I've had people recently actually say this to me. Basically saying, no, I don't have a handicap. I'm so special that you can't understand me. It's like, well, no. But people think that way. They do. And so you could fit people, and I don't like doing stuff like this. This is binary thinking. I have a video on binary thinking. Don't do it. But you could put people into the Batman or Superman camp, right? Not by their own choosing, but by how they act. Like, are you acting like you're emergent, building yourself up, a materialist, or are you acting like you're supernatural, emanating from below, and that's why you don't fit in? Either one doesn't fit into the world. Like, Bruce Wayne is like this, playboy looking guy, even though he's not really, but that's what everybody thinks, right? He's deliberately fooling people. Deliberately, by the way, knowingly. manipulating and making people think a certain way of him, even though he's not that way. And then also hiding his identity as an exemplar, an exemplification of goodness in the community. The same way Superman is, except he's out there in the daytime. So emergence is associated with darkness. How interesting. And a clarion call of the light gets Batman out. Emanation happens in the daytime. And it's a stark contrast against the sky of this Ubermensch, Superman. It's all right there. So, what are the side effects of this? Well, look, everyone's living hidden. And you can live hidden as a superhero in your head, whether it's an emergent superhero like Batman or an emanating superhero like Superman. You can do that because the art is right there. This is what's happening with the characters that we're reading about and enthralled by and enchanted by. Art enchants us. Beauty is not a goodness by itself. It's true, the good and the beautiful. It's not beauty equals truth, beauty equals goodness, truth equals beauty, truth equals... No. They're three separate things for a reason. So, I could be the superhero. No one's going to know. Do I think it's because I'm so much better than everybody else because I came from a better place? Or do I think I've just got the goods? Like I've got the knowledge and the tools. Maybe they're computing tools. I don't know. Maybe they're just access to Wikipedia. Either way, I'm living hidden as a hero. And in some ways, a lot of the Christians I meet are like that, right? They're like, oh, no, we're saving the world. And you ask them how. And they're like, well, we don't like to talk about it because pride. Yeah, I'm not buying it. If you do good in the world, you should tell people. Why? So that they know you're doing good in the world. So that they know what good is. Like, I can say all day long, I'm doing good in the world and kill people. Serial killers think they're doing good in the world. No, really, they do. Usually they're killing hookers. And they're ridding the world of a morality problem by ridding the world of people with low morals. That's what they're doing. Now, I would argue they're not good. But if they told you that, you would know. When people aren't telling you, I'm doing the good and showing you what it is, be suspicious. They're living hidden. They might be doing the good. I don't know. But I'm also not able to evaluate the claim at that point. What good's a claim you can't evaluate? And maybe I don't know what the good is. So I need somebody to show me. No, this is good. Is that going to work every time? No, of course not. But I'm not an idealist. I don't want it to work every time. I want it to work most of the time. That would be great. If we can just tilt things more good than bad, we're doing okay. We're not doing that now. So I would like to get back in that direction. Imperfect, but way more good. That would be fantastic. We were there. We can get back. You can't live hidden, though. You've got to show people the good. They've got to see it and go, oh, this is something I can mimic. I can emulate this. You don't want them emulating Batman and Superman. And the whole Batman-Superman battle is a battle between good and evil. Wait a minute. Which one of these heroes that was doing good one by day, one by night, is now evil, and which one is good? Oh, it's ambiguous. So it doesn't matter what you do as a live-hidden hero or a Christian. Because it's ambiguous now. So now you can claim to be doing the good and not doing anything at all. After all, behavior is ambiguous according to Batman versus Superman model. And it's a real model. And what's really happening here is the destruction of virtues and values. Because they're not exemplified correctly. They're not called out. They're not shown to us. They're not shining at us. They're not things we can look up to and look for in the world and see and understand and interact with and emulate and mimic and exemplify and celebrate. There's no surprise party for Bruce Wayne for catching the bad guy. There's no surprise party. There's no celebration for Superman. There's no parade. I'm not saying that nowhere in the comics or the movies are they not praised, but it's not what's happening. There's no gratitude. There's no exemplification for the good behavior. And we can't thank people for a job well done. There's a lack of feedback for the good, for goodness itself, for good behavior. You're wondering why in this world we're just arguing and complaining. Well, we don't see anybody doing anything else. So what do you expect? If you're not saying, hey, that was a good point that you just made. Hey, I saw your talk. You did a good job. Hey, I like the way you did that. That was pretty cool. If we're not doing that in public in front of other people, A, you forget to do it. I do all the time. B, you don't know how to do it. C, it's not socially acceptable. Things you don't see other people do in public are not socially acceptable by default. That's how our brains work. Sorry, guy. Not going to change it by talking to you. Wish I could, but it's not how the world works. It's not how people are motivated. It just isn't. So, what am I saying? Let me try to wrap this up and see if I can do a reasonable enough job of this. Hopefully you'll let me know in the comments with likes and subscribes and all that stuff and tell your friends and, trying to grow the channel here. The loss of the hero as outstanding or an outlier, like something special, something different, means we have nothing to mimic, nothing to emulate, nothing to measure ourselves against. No ideal form of what a superhero looks like. No way to understand the hierarchy. No way, because it's hidden. No way to engage with the rarity of good behavior in ourselves and in others. No way to engage with the gratefulness, the gratitude that there are people out there that are holding up virtues and values so that we don't have to, because otherwise it's too much of a burden on you. We believe in superheroes but cannot and are not supposed to see them. Therefore, part of being a superhero is to be unseen. Anyone can do this with just materialism and emergence. Even when a superhero emanates from above, they are hidden. The mystery is intact because it's no longer emergence and materialism. Although Superman has material aspects, right? You can bring down the kryptonite. But mystery is intact, but our senses are tuned in on themselves. Maybe we are not of this world. That explains things nicely. Maybe we were traumatized. But we can modify ourselves to be that superhero. Except that we cannot. Not everybody can be a superhero. But everybody can sometimes exhibit virtues and values, exemplify virtues and values. Everybody can be good. And I don't just mean good at something, but good in the world. But without that exemplification, without those heroes out there doing it, we don't have anything to follow. We don't have an ideal standard to measure against. We don't have anything to mimic. We have nothing exemplified for us. That's the problem with Batman versus Superman. And it's a mess. It's a problem. It's seeped into culture. It's all the way in movies. And that signal's out there. And we can't do that. And it's very, very tempting to be a live hidden superhero. It's tempting to feel like we are even when we're not doing anything, because there's ambiguity in the world, and you know, it happens to people. And we need to fight back against this stuff. And it's hard because you have to make a sacrifice to do these things. And we sacrifice all the time. We just don't realize it. And the thing that I think to keep in mind, the thing, for example, that is of value is what you've given to this video and watching it. And hopefully you'll give it more of it by commenting and liking and telling me whether or not I've done a good job or what you liked and didn't like. And that thing that I value, that I think everybody should value, the thing that I'm grateful for from you the most is for your time and attention.